Hello everyone, welcome to the latest Jargus Ranger Review. This time we'll be looking at the 18th episode of Megaforce, the human condition. Right from the start, things are getting good. Megaforce is finally awake from his cocoon thing, and he's more powered up than ever, and he has a bunch of feathers on him. And so his first step is to go and attack the Earth. And Rock's gonna back him up by crashing the ship down or something. But before getting into that, we had continued Robo Knight's exploration of humanity. This time, he's at some sort of playground and you see a kid fall down and starts crying. And his mother comes to hug him. So he goes to Troy, who for once we actually see training for this first time since near the beginning. And he asks him why humans have tears. And he just plainly says, "Oh, well, Emma knows more about that than I do, go ask her." So he goes and asks Emma, and she says that it's because of love. And before she can finish talking, Hia disappears. And next goes to Gia, who is doing pull-ups. So I guess they're pulling out all the Ranger's traits in this one. Good job. Finally, good job. And he just plainly asks, "What is love?" And no, I will not make that joke here. And she says that Jake could tell her all about it. This can only end well. So he tries to go to Jake and he sees him playing soccer. And he just walks off and says there's nothing he can learn from him. And that was the funniest moment right there. Poor Jake, everyone makes fun of you. So next he walks into the school and passes Mr. Burley, and they exchange greetings. Though Burley takes a look back and knows something strange. And he goes to his office and starts opening a box that has a telescope in it. While Robo Knight goes to talk to Jake, who understandably is worried about him being there. So he asks to know about stuff about being human, and wants to know all about humans. And Noah just tells him that people have been writing about that for centuries, and that it would take years to find everything out. So he goes to the library. And the funny thing about here is that everyone seems to be afraid of him. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of this guy. Well, not to the point of running away. I mean, I would assume there was some dude in a costume if I saw him walking about like that. So even the librarian at the front desk runs away. But he sees a sign that says no cell phones. So he leaves his right there in front of the desk. That's actually a somewhat important point coming up, believe it or not. And so he goes get all kinds of books about psychology, sociology, biology, music. And he sits down and starts reading them. And by reading, I mean he just puts his hands over it and scans a whole page. I guess he learned to read from Chuck Norris then. But before this hilarity can continue, Megaforce begins his attack and the Rangers go to fight him. And he is completely kicking their asses. I mean, they can't even scratch him. And he's effortlessly knocking them aside at every turn. And so they try to call Robo Knight, but they can't get in touch with him because his phone is on the desk and he's reading books. Then he sees a kid on the bench and hears his headphones music. Curious as to what it is, he opens the next book and right in the middle is a picture of an iPod. So he approaches the kid to ask him about it, and like everyone else, he's kind of freaked out. But unlike everyone else, the kid actually humors him, and lets him listen in on the music with him. Meanwhile, back in the city, buildings are all being fallen up from the ground and being disintegrated thanks to Megaforce. And then he projects his announcement of broadcast to everybody. We never really see any reactions. Instead, he has Rock transport him to Rangers to a spot where they can view all the destruction. And from then on, he continues to dominate the Rangers and even using some pretty cool looking attacks. Mostly of just showing off all the planets. And while this is happening, Mr. Burley looks into his telescope and sees Rock coming closer and closer to the Earth with his warship. But the Rangers say that they will never surrender. And so all of a sudden, their attacks starting to do more damage to him and are actually starting to hurt him a bit. But Megaforce is not that easily taken out. He takes some zombies and eats them and grows larger himself. And the Rangers fight it in their default ghostly great Megazord. And just like in their regular battle, they are being completely decimated by his raw power. And from the looks of it, he's charging up for one big final attack. The one cool thing about this scene is I noticed that they just showed in the background layer of the warship inching ever closer in the sky. That was a really clever detail, I must say. So in a last-ditch effort, the Rangers combine all their power cards, and that summons all of their Zords that they have to attack him at once. And that takes away his extra power-up. Not only that, they were able to take them out to form a new Megazord, the Ultra Ghostly Great Megazord. Even though the card that they showed for it said Hyper Ghostly Great. Whoops. So with the victory charge for that, they just use all the cards to immobilize them and push them against the warship, which is pretty much not too far away. And they blast them and destroy them both, with Rock saying in the control room that wasn't supposed to be this way. And then, boom. So far said and done, the Rangers find Robo Knight walking up the library. And to summarize what he was doing, he starts rapping, because he learned how to from that kid. It was kind of painful, so I'll spare the details on that. And so that was one hell of an episode. It's a pretty damn good intense action. And the subplot, while it was pretty silly, was really just used to keep Robo Knight out of the battle. Everything was adapted from the Sentai footage, which at this point did not include Robo Knight, or really anything involving the mutants forward. So at this point, all that's left is the machines, being run by Metal Alice. And once they're taken out, every threat known to Megaforce will be over. So there's only 2 episodes left. And knowing how clever Rock is, it wouldn't surprise me if he was involved in that as well. One detail I needed to mention, I think I forgot to, is that little ship that came from the Warstar ship when Malcor first went to his cocoon. Well, it turns out that was actually Malcor. It just wasn't made clear initially. First it was something with Farak being treacherous and such. So nice red herring, but let's see where this goes next time. This episode definitely gets an A+. Watch it. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.